What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to break down the top XFL quarterbacks that were taken in the draft a few weeks ago. I forget the exact date now. Before we get into evaluating these quarterbacks, and at the end I'll be ranking them by team, like which team has the best QB room and which QB is best. I want to get into first some of what I will be using as criteria. And before I start that, I'm just going to pull up of one of the fans, one of the viewers gave me the idea for this video. So I want to see what their name was before I start to give them credit. Give me 1 second. Richard Humphrey. So thank you, Richard, for the suggestion on this video. So this video is just gonna be ranking the QBs drafted. An important thing to note is that this is not how they will perform necessarily in the season. That'll be part of my team previews and all of that. So much of the spring football, and particularly just the quarterback position in general, is team dependent. So we're going to be looking at these quarterbacks ideally as best we can, as isolated from the team that they're on. So this is just you put them on any team, who would be the best, who would be the worst. This is all my opinion. These are not personal. I don't know any of these people. So doesn't have anything to do with that. And also, how are we evaluating these quarterbacks? So some people like to look at just the advanced stats and the metrics. Some people are all eye test. And there's a few different challenges. Some of these guys are coming to the XFL because they don't have any as much tape or experience at a high level of football, or some even of these guys, as we'll get into, at the NCAA level, they might have owned a couple years of starting. So it's tough to get a great NFL scouting breakdown. Some of these guys is tough to track down their measurables. Not the case for some, but so I'm doing my best with the information we have. Seeing, I look at production. I use some eye tests. I'll watch a little bit of film. I'll see if there's any other scouts who have any other thoughts, like from their pro days, or if they were coming out as a prospect, like what they say, and kind of use some of that. And then some of it's just a gut thing. So it's a little bit of production, a little bit of just eye testing, kind of projecting how they'll perform at the pro level. Not necessarily how they'll project to the NFL level either. That's another distinction. Because some of these guys might not be NFL ready, but they might be great. I think they'll be great in this league, and maybe doesn't mean they won't be good in the NFL. But I'm looking at if they'll be good this year in the XFL. So let's get into it. I'm going to be going through these quarterbacks by teams. The teams are in alphabetical order. This is not a ranking of the teams or the players. And then I'll be saying which quarterback I think is going to start. And at the end, I'll say my team rankings and my individual rankings. So the Arlington Renegades, we got Drew Plitt. He's 6'2", 205. He went to Ball State, 68 touchdowns in his career. 18 is his senior year. So I'm trying to just look at the most productive year, especially because some of these guys weren't 4-year starters. So 18 TDs. He did get a start with or not a start, rather. He got some time with the Bengals in the preseason a few years ago. Or this year, rather, excuse me. Went 6 for 6, 76 yards and a touchdown. So he has some NFL experience, not only in a practice squad or mini camp, but getting some preseason time. He's got an okay arm. I would say solid to strong. Some mobility in the pocket, but not particularly mobile outside of the pocket. He can make every throw. I would say he's not great at any one throw in particular, but he can make every throw. The ball doesn't have a ton of like zip downfield. Like he doesn't drive the ball as well as I would hope. And his ball placement isn't incredible to me, but not bad. So I think Drew Plitt's a solid player, and he's again in the Renegades. And then the other quarterback, which USFL fans will know, is Kyle Sloter. 6'4", 218. He was played for New Orleans Breakers. He led the league in passing yards. His stats got a little worse. He was battling injuries down at the end, so his interceptions and his everything, all his stats kind of went down. But for the first, I forget how many weeks or so, he was pretty solid for the Breakers. He's a pretty fast guy. He was a receiver in college. He make every throw. He's an incredible athlete. If you ever watch him play, outside the pocket is creative. Again, accuracy, some decision making were a little bit questionable. I think as anyone's watched him, he's a stud. I think he can make every throw. I think after a year in the USFL, he's going to be great. I do think he'll be the Renegade starter week 1. I'm assuming he's healthy and he's battled through all those injuries. So yeah, I think Kyle Sloter is a phenomenal talent. He's been productive in spring football, and I think that'll continue. Next up, we have the DC Defenders. The Defenders only took one quarterback, Eric Dungy. He's 6'4", 226 from Syracuse. So his third team all ACC. I forget his last year in college. He was in the 2020 XFL, excuse me. He had a little bit of a rough time. He signed on late. His father unfortunately passed away during the season, it seems like. So it hasn't quite gotten a rhythm, hasn't caught and hold anywhere. He is an incredible athlete. He's a big dude. He ran for 750 yards as a senior. Um, he's big, he's strong, he can make plays with his feet, I think, to a fault. So like a lot of guys who are big and strong, he can make plays outside the pocket. He sometimes tries to do it too much and doesn't go through his progressions. Accuracy can be the question sometimes. But as a cannon, I think he's maybe the most intriguing quarterback. There's no pro footage of him that I could find. But I think he is an elite athlete and talent, and I think it'll be super interesting to see him in this league. And if in the right situation with the right offense that lets him run the ball, I think he's going to be great. So next we go to the Houston Roughnecks. Now this is an interesting QB room. I'll get more into it later, but their one quarterback is Caleb Ellaby. And also these quarterbacks for each team are listed in order alphabetically by last name. So the order I say the names in isn't particularly relevant. Caleb Ellaby, he's 6'1", 210. He went to Western Michigan. He had 23 TDs as a senior. 40 time that I could find was 4.91. So not super fast, especially for his size. He's not inaccurate. His short and medium throws are great, and that's how he got a lot of his yards at Western Michigan. It seems like a lot of putting the ball in the hands of playmakers, let them go, which again in the right situation can be great. But if I'm putting him on a blank any team, I don't think he has the best athleticism. I don't think he's a great arm placement. Again, this isn't a critique of him as a person. I've heard he's a great leader from what I could read and find about him, which is always good to hear from coaches. He's not super inaccurate, not super accurate, not super inaccurate. I think he's good on the short and medium throws. The deep ball is going to be a question. He's not super fast. He's not super big. So I think that'll be, depending on how their team looks and all, and if you don't put the right offense around him, he might struggle. But overall, solid player. And then the other quarterback is Brandon Silvers. He started for the Seattle Dragons for a few games, had some injuries, and then lost his job to gonna forget his name, and it's just not gonna happen. But he lost his job in the XFL. He's one of the older guys in the league. He's 28, 29 years old, not the oldest. We'll talk about the oldest QB in a little bit. 40 time I could find for him is 5.06, so pretty slow. He's a solid locker room guy. He's one of these guys he's played in the spring league. He's played in the XFL. In 2020, he'll be here again. So he's a little bit older, which is good. Sometimes I think to have some maturity and experience. One of these guys who's grinded through it. Could be a good example. Not a great arm talent. But he's solid. He can make some of the throws. I like him as a player personally. As a Dragons fan, I'm biased a little bit here. I think this quarterback battle will be interesting. I could see Brandon Silvers I could see him splitting time. I could see Silvers getting the start, and then I'll be taking the job. I could see it either way. So this is my quarterback battle to watch. I'm super intrigued. One of the best battles. Because neither guy to me pops, but maybe that'll change. As we look through the rosters and this rosters are all set for the season, that could change. Next we have the Orlando Guardians. Quinton Dormady. He finished at Central Michigan. He went to 3 schools. He's 6'3", 215. Okay speed, 4.77 40. He was in the CFL but didn't have any playing time. He's a little bit older. Not a ton of film on him. He had 14 touchdowns in 2019 at Central Michigan, his last year. I don't love that personally. In like a guy who's playing at that not low level, I shouldn't say that, but not at the top, not a Power 5 conference, I should say, who's not putting up big numbers and isn't super dynamic athletically. Isn't my favorite type of player, but he's got some accuracy. Nothing particularly exciting. I think he's a pretty stable guy who could come in and, depending on the right offense, manage a game, but who knows? And their other quarterback is DeAndre Francois. I believe it's how you say it. Florida State quarterback. He was the rookie of the year in 2016. 6'1", 220, incredibly fast, 4'5", 640. If anyone remembers watching, he was an insane athlete. As a rookie, his in the ACC, the 20 passing touchdowns and 3,000 yards, and then ran for another 200 yards. But he's even faster than that. His last year at Hampton in 2019, he had 2,500 yards and 26 TDs. He's got a strong arm. He's fast. He was last in the fan-controlled football league, I believe, this year or last year, or maybe both. He has some personal issues, some legal issues I'm not going to touch, quite frankly, even in this channel. Like, it's just not cool. But I don't, as a quarterback, I think he's an incredible athlete. He's clearly been successful at that level. The question is can he go through his reads? Can he make the throws? Can he be disciplined enough to do all that? I think if he figures it all out, I mean, he's an NFL talent. Clearly, I think he could be on an NFL roster if he learns the quarterback position, like learns to be more of a pocket quarterback and do all that and learns to make the right decisions, then yeah, he could play in the NFL. But we'll see if that happens. Now, I think he will be the starter, Francois, for the record. I think Quentin Dormady just isn't going to be able to. I think he's less dynamic, and I think, especially in any of these teams, you need a dynamic quarterback if you can help it. Either with they need to be dynamic with their arm or with their legs or both. And Dormady doesn't seem to be either to me. So there's that. San Antonio Brahmas, Anthony Russo. He transferred to Michigan State, but his last real playing year was at 2019 at Temple. Go Owls for all my Temple fans. His last year at Temple, he had 21 passing TDs. He's got a strong arm. He's not a great game. He's a good game manager. His arm's okay, deep. He doesn't have a great deep ball. He's not incredibly accurate. But he's got some size, so he can be tough in the pocket. Some people question his loyalty after his transfer of Temple. I know a lot of Temple fans weren't happy about that, but he's not very fast either. His arm accuracy, he's got a strong arm, short, medium, but his deep ball is eh. Game manager, older guy, so perhaps a little bit older of a guy, so perhaps could be effective as a locker room guy. And then Jawan Pass. His last year was he's 6'4", 228. He was at Prairie View A&M after transferring from Louisville. I couldn't find the reason why. If anyone knows why, drop it in the comments. He started some games at Louisville. I feel like 18 or so games. He's a big guy, and he can run because he's pretty big. He's not super fast in his 40 or anything, but he runs better on tape than he looks in his 40, I guess. A lot of INT, a lot of interceptions, not a great completion percentage, but again, one of these guys too, it's tough to bring down the pocket. And clearly has played at a high college level, so clearly has some of that in him. Again, I don't know why he left Louisville or anything like that. So, yeah, I think this is an interesting room. I would give it to Jawan Pass if I had to guess who's going to start for San Antonio to start the year. I could be wrong. Or Brandon Silvers, actually. You could convince me either way. It's a very interesting room to me, to be honest. Two bigger guys who aren't crazy accurate and aren't super fast, but who knows, in the right system with the right players, all these guys can play. So we'll see. And then the Seattle Dragons, the quarterback, Ben DiNucci, was their first quarterback. He's a 7th round pick in the NFL, 6'2", 222, finished his career at JMU. His last year, he had 3,400 passing yards and 29 passing TDs and 570 rushing yards, basically, and 7 TDs. He has one NFL start for the Cowboys. He is pretty fast. His 40 times only 4.77, but he was pretty elusive at JMU. Good locker room guy. That NFL pedigree, I think, goes a long way. One, getting the NFL start and also just being on an active roster for a few weeks, even just that, getting those reps with the Cowboys and Dak Prescott and all that. I think he has a lot to learn. I'm no secret. I think Ben DiNucci is going to be awesome. I think he will be the MVP of the XFL, and his stats are going to shock a lot of people. But I think he will be the starter for the Dragons, but I do think there's some competition. And quite frankly, if I were the Dragons, I would think about making a trade with their backup, assuming their backup quarterback, Steven Monetz. He's 6'5", 235. He played for the Washington football team last year or this year. recently. Um, he's a big guy, 6'5", 235. He's 40 times 4, 6'8". So he's a big, fast guy. He's got some NFL experience being on the active roster and practice squad. Um, he's not a great scrambler though for his speed, I would say. He's not super like shifty. His top end speed might be pretty high once he gets the open field, but in the pocket watching him, I didn't see any crazy elusiveness. Like I think Ben DiNucci might be slower in the open field, but more able to escape, just more crafty and stuff like that. Um, these are from scouts. Some of this, there's probably some leadership questions about him. Wasn't a super winning player at Colorado. Every year he started, they were 5-7. Um, that's not all his, obviously not all his fault. You know, as I've said, quarterbacks football is a team sport. You can't just put on a quarterback, especially at the college level, I think. But there are some other scouts who have questioned that. That's not just I don't know him. Um, he's one of the critiques that I saw some on film and you read about is that he puts his ball in places where receivers, not that they can't catch it, but that, it's not putting them in good spots. So he's putting them in the place where they're going to get laid out over the middle of the field or can't make a play after they catch the ball. So some of that stuff. But a dynamic athlete, I think he could start for a lot of other teams. I think Ben DiNucci should start. I don't think he should start for the Dragons if Ben DiNucci's healthy, but or Sea Dragons, excuse me. But it's definitely an interesting QB room, and I think he's a guy who, again, with that NFL pedigree, could put it together and be really successful. And then we got two more teams. AJ McCarron, quarterback. AJ McCarron for the St. Louis Battlehawks, 6'3", 220. He had an 8-year NFL career, so he's by far the oldest guy. I think he's 33 or 34 years old, maybe 32. In his 30s, so he's the oldest quarterback for sure that was drafted. He has 4 NFL starts. He started the AFC wildcard game in 2016 for the 2015 Bengals. Three-time national champion, won it twice in a row. He was All-American first team in Alabama. I don't remember his age career at the NFL level. He was a game manager in the NFL level and someone in college, the ACC or the SEC, excuse me. They always had great running backs in Alabama, great program. He's a 5th-round pick. So, but I mean, he's always some talent. He can put the ball in good places. He knows how to get the ball to playmakers. He's a game manager. He's a great leader. His mobility isn't great, and especially he's gotten older, he hasn't played in a little while. I can't imagine it's gotten much better. His arm talent, again, for this, it's hard to watch the NFL and coming back to the XFL because there is a drop off in play oftentimes. In terms of like top QB talent, but his arm strength in the NFL and college was never amazing. Um, could be faster. I wish he was a little faster. I wish he was a few years younger. Um, Sorry, getting a text from a source. We'll break that next week. Um, but yeah, I think he's good. I think especially with guys in the NFL for 8 years and has played at such a high level in college, like I'm gonna trust that guy to be good. I don't know how good, but I think he's gonna be good. I think he'll start for the Battlehawks. Ryan Willis is the other quarterback. He played at Virginia Tech. His last full season at Virginia Tech, he had 24 TDs passing and 3,200 yards and 300 rushing yards. He was a spring league MVP in 2021. 4.7640. He seems like a winner. He puts the ball in hands for his playmakers to make plays. I think that's how he gets a lot of yards in college, it looked like to me. I didn't watch a ton of the spring league footage, but for what I saw, it's kind of similar. And getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers in the right offense is great. And could make the difference. But I think that he's not a great arm. I think he's fine, quite frankly. I think if they had to start him for a reason, if AJ McCarron gets hurt or anything, I think Ryan Willis will be perfectly solid. And depending on the right team, especially, it could be great. But I think AJ McCarron has to get the nod just as an 8-year NFL vet. I think I'm going to have to give him the advantage. And the Vegas Vipers, Jalen McClendon, not a ton of action in college. He played for Baylor and NC State. I believe went to Baylor as a grad transfer. Maybe I'm mistaken, but he had 17 TDs as a senior in high school. They're not ton. Quite frankly, I couldn't find a lot of film on him. And not a ton of stats either. So this is from a scouting report I got from SportsIllustrated.com. His arm is pretty solid. His feet, he doesn't have the best footwork, it seems like. And he just needs reps. He hasn't played a ton. didn't have great college stats when he did come in, but he didn't play much. I forget his even totals, but he's a 6'4" guy. He's got a good arm. He got some tryouts with the Baltimore Ravens, I believe. I believe he made their mini camp or rookie camp or in the offseason. So it'd be interesting. And then their quarterback is Luis Perez, 6'3", 222. This guy has been in the AAF, the XFL, the USFL. He's had some NFL experience and the spring league. So he's been around a lot in just a short time. He was the New York Guardians, RIP, and the New Jersey Generals quarterback last year for USFL fans. He had completed 72% of his passes with 9 passing touchdowns and 6 INTs. He's very accurate. He's very slow. His deep ball is not great, quite frankly, from watching him so many times. But he's a really great leader. He again is one of these guys who gets the balls in the hands of his playmakers and lets them make plays. I think he should start for the Vegas Vipers, quite frankly, him over Jalen McClendon. He manages the pocket very well. He's not the fastest, but like he'll make sure like to avoid trouble. He doesn't get sacked as much as you would think for someone his speed and everything. So I think he should start. He's a proven spring in this level of competition. He's proven he can play. So I think I have to assume he's going to do it again. All right. And now without further ado, let me pull up my spreadsheet of rankings. Just give me one moment. All right, let's click that and let's click that. Okay, sorry, wrong tab. Okay. So you can see we'll go through my top QB rooms. This is as of today, December 5th. This could change. This is just independent of all the other talent. The QB rooms is kind of a subjective thing. You know, you look at both the quarterbacks they have, see how I feel about the room, that if one went down, how would the team be? And the upside as well is factored in because having 2 very okay quarterbacks, which is better having that or a really good quarterback. One really good quarterback and one really bad quarterback. So one, I think the Seattle Sea Dragons, they have 2 guys, Ben DiNucci and Steven Monette, with NFL experience, good arm talents, fast. I think they'll be able to thrive. They would thrive in any offense, and I think they have a really good QB room. If like, I'm sure there'll be players added, but we'll see. And number 2, we have the Battlehawks. I think AJ McCarron is great. Obviously the 8-year vet. We talked about him. Ryan Willis, I think, will be solid if they had to. And then at 3, we have the Arlington Renegades. I really like Drew Plitt and Kyle Sloter. I think Sloter's proven, but I think Drew Plitt is pretty exciting. And again, has a little bit of NFL preseason experience, which I think matters a lot. And you know, I think he'll give Kyle Sloter a run for his money, but it'll be interesting to see. At 4, the DC Defenders, they were the toughest because they only took 1 quarterback in this draft, but I think Eric Dungy is like a crazy, crazy athlete. I think he'll be really fun to watch. He's one of the most intriguing quarterbacks that I watched. Because he doesn't play him a little bit either, so it'll be interesting to see how he looks. I put the Vegas Vipers at 5. Luis Perez is solid. I think they'll be in good shape no matter what. No matter what team you put him on, Luis Perez, he's gonna be fine. He'll be solid as he always has been in these spring leagues. I think Jalen McClendon is nothing special, quite frankly, but maybe with some development and reps, he'll get a little bit better. At 6, I got the Orlando Guardians. I think, sorry, I'm just playing my notes. DeAndre Francois, I think, is pretty good. I think he could be awesome for this league. Could be kind of hit or miss guy. Quentin Dormady doesn't excite me, but Francois could be pretty good. And then at number 7, I have the San Antonio Brahmas. I think Jawan Pass and Anthony Russo, 2 big, solid arms, a little bit of experience. I think they'll be solid. I think they don't have that. The reason they fall isn't because either one of them is particularly bad. It's just that neither one of them is particularly life-changing, but they could be okay. They could be fine if they were in the right situation. And then the Houston Roughnecks at 8. I don't love Brandon Silvers. He couldn't start in the XFL last go around. Or couldn't keep his starting job. And again, these aren't personal attacks, but Caleb Ellaby, the tape I read on him and tape I saw about him and what I read about him wasn't going to wow me. But, you know, I think it's just it doesn't mean they're gonna be bad. It just means, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league, and there will be more probably added from after the draft, like after this draft. So we'll see. Um, and this is my list of top QBs. I probably would switch a few of these. These 11 to 15 are tough to rank. I probably put Caleb Elby. Maybe I'll do that right now. Oops. Um, so we'll put Jalen McClendon at 15. So yeah, Ben DiNucci 1, Kyle Slater 2, Adrian McCarron 3, Steve Monetz, Eric Dungy, Drew Plitt, Luis Perez, DeAndre Francois, Brandon Silvers, Anthony Russo, Ryan Willis, Caleb Elvey, Quentin Dormady, Jawan Pash, Jalen McClendon. And again, some of these guys don't have a ton of tape, and some of these guys haven't played in a couple of years, so it's hard to quite evaluate. But this is just my first read on them. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of these rankings, if you think anyone's too high or too low. I'm looking forward to being wrong about some of these guys in both ways. I hope I'm wrong and they're all way better than I think. I'm sure there'll be some guys added following the college season, some of some guys will be signed later as free agents. And we'll talk more about that. Maybe we do our team previews. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you guys agree with my rankings? I left the screen up. Maybe I'll post them in the comments, those rankings. So that way, maybe I'll post a link to the comments. That way I can have people look and maybe say what they think. And thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Again, let me know in the comments what you think. We need video ideas, and we'll see you.